Oh man, I can't believe it! Shadow of the Erdtree is finally out! Oh, I'm gonna absolutely smash it! My build is unstoppable! Elden Ring is with no shadow of a doubt a masterpiece of a game, captivating millions and becoming one of the greatest games of all time, including my own personal favourite. It had a great concept, a beautiful and diverse open world, and bosses to make you rip your hair out. Sake, man. But it's still a deserved Game of the Year, and ever since the announcement of Shadow of the Erdtree, it got me and so many others back into the game and super excited for what was to come out. But to access the DLC in the first place, you have to get good and already have defeated Radahn and Mohg, which is no easy feat itself. Oh! And come on, like, you've had 2 years to beat them, and if you think they're hard, I mean, just wait. But now we get to go to that uterus in the back of the mausoleum and touch the hand to be transported to the Shadow Realm. Not the one from Yu-Gi-Oh though. And in this new Shadow Realm, we get to run through this beautiful field of shadowy graves in the gravesite plains. It is a great scene setter, but to me, it doesn't live up to the opening with Limgrave. Oh look, it's my first enemies of the DLC. Holy sh**. Oh, they're hard. Oh, first boss, this Wicker Man. Oh, this might be a bit harder than I first thought. If only I knew. Now let's get into arguably the biggest talking point surrounding this DLC in its early life, and that is the difficulty. And this is really a double-edged sword, as is it a difficult game? Yes. More difficult than the main game? In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. But I need to say, what did you expect? This is From Software we're talking about, making a DLC for a game that was criticised for being too easy, and the DLC is not as difficult as people are making it out to be. If you take advantage of the mechanics provided to you, the DLC will only be as hard as you make it, as most people complaining will have some kind of self-imposed rule on, things that they can't use, most commonly summon, or sticking to a single build, a strategy I've done for this Berserk playthrough, and a lot have some kind of pride surrounding not using summons or only using a terrible weapon or a certain build. Not everyone is as good as Let Me Solo Her, so use summons if you want, search for broken builds for each boss, or just gather the Scadutree fragments. And by the way, these Scadutree fragments add a brand new mechanic to get players of all skill levels to enjoy the game. As scattered throughout the Shadow Realm are 50 fragments that grant a bonus to damage and increase to damage negation. For most people to enjoy the DLC, these will be a mandatory collectible for you to acquire. And like summons, there should be no stigma for you collecting all the fragments to get through some bosses, as some really are difficult without them. It is great that From Software does difficulty like this. It isn't an easy mode, but gives the opportunity for everyone to make the difficulty tailored to you, as you can have a user-determined damage boost to help you out with that one boss that is just driving you up the wall. That was Rellana for me. Yeah. Oh my god, just that one attack. Jesus. And at some bosses as well, you can summon an NPC to help you out as well. Just adding something else to help you out. Although, if I am going to play devil's advocate, maybe having an NPC, mimic tier, as well as many Scadutree fragments as you can get before the first boss, is a bit defeating the gameplay of Elden Ring, but each to their own. If that makes you enjoy the game, then great. But the bosses are certainly more difficult than most of the bosses in the main game, excluded a few, maybe Melania, Horalu, and maybe Margit before leveling up, with each certainly having their pros and cons and their own difficulties, with most having moves that will one-shot you or set you up for more attacks with less opportunity to counter, making you bide your time more. It is something most haven't liked, but it means you need to be even better to avoid these attacks, and it's a nice challenge, as none of the bosses are pushovers, even with a high level of Scadutree fragments, a massive improvement on the base game, as some just are pushovers, like Godric the Grafted or the Mimic tier. Now let's get into this new DLC area of the Shadow Realm, and wow. This is just as good as the main game in so many ways. Firstly, it is massive. Surely one of the largest DLC areas in history, and it's definitely bigger and more detailed than some supposed open world games. You'll start in the gravesite plains, a massive open field to ride torrent around with nothing much in the main area besides a Wickerman enemy in the distance, but with many hidden areas and catacombs within that connect the whole map together with so much verticality. The Scadutree is much of the same, leading up to Messmer's castle, but the rest of the map is so unique with so many secrets around every corner and down every cave. The Cerulean coast is so beautiful, full of bright blue flowers that remind me of the opening of Ghost of Tsushima. The Jagged Peak, or Land of the Dragons, is just a massive mountain to scale with lightning striking down constantly, giving some sort of fear but never really being an issue, leading up to the Bayle boss fight. The most unique area has to be the Abyssal Woods, an area that is annoying to get to with one of the most annoying bosses with all the summons, but once here, it is certainly creepy, with the inability to ride torrent for 99% of the area and being full of madness enemies, including these pricks that you can't damage at all and have to sneak past, something I was definitely not expecting. But it has my favourite house in all of Elden Ring, as it contains a Lord of Frenzied Flame. Such a great boss, but the house just reminds me of the Malkavian Manor from VTMB, another incredible game that I've made a video on, link below. But carrying on, the main areas you traverse through for the story are pretty regular and nothing compared to, say, Lindell, but both Ine Ilim and the Shadow Keep are the standout areas, being both beautiful and large in scale, especially Messmer's Shadow Keep, with multiple areas that you can find so many secrets in, like draining the water and fighting the Scadutree avatar. Traversal of this world can be somewhat hard, as some areas require you to go through a catacomb and defeat the boss to progress, but they aren't that hard besides one. There is so much verticality with updrafts for torrent nearly everywhere that are mostly locked, requiring you to find a bunch of rocks to destroy. Something here could have done without. Now let's get into the main feature of the DLC, the bosses of Shadow of the Erdtree. Overall, these bosses are incredible. Besides the Hog Rider or Commander Gaius. Oh, I'm sick of this f***ing pig. They are all top tier, with excellent difficulty, near perfect designs, and attacks that hit hard and make you realise that this is not going to be easy. Each is going to be a millennia level fight. The Dancing Lion is most likely the first boss to encounter. While it isn't as big of a doorstop as Margit was in the base game, it sets the stage for the difficulty to come, especially with that lightning form. It really gets hectic, and especially for only 90,000 runes, it is a tough starter. Oh! Oh, yes! Killed it. At least you get the most over-the-top helmet in the Dancing Lion head. I mean, I low-key love the look of it. Rellana was my kryptonite for this DLC, for me being the hardest boss in terms of game time, taking well over 4, maybe even 5 hours for me to beat her, after boasting that it would be easy after the first run I did. Oh Jesus, that's a powerful attack, isn't it? Right, easy this boss, easy. She has such a good counter to my build, which is her main strength. Her sheer speed and amount of attacks is such a small time frame. Oh my god, that is unbearable. Jesus, that is horrific, that attack. Especially that second form with the dual elemental swords with so many one-hit shots. That is horrific, that attack. She is one of my favourite fights in the DLC. I just wish the swords that you got from her were better, because I absolutely love the idea of them. Dead! Oh! The Golden Hippo is the first with a somewhat janky hitbox, with the attack where it tries to eat you. For fuck's sake, man. Like, I swear to God that I dodged it, but the design of the hippo is reused with some open world hippos, but the golden one can turn into a porcupine or hedgehog, whatever it might be. Ugh, it's a porcupine! It is better to use range for this fight, as after each attack it can create so much distance between you two that you have to run after it and then it's already trying to attack again. But besides that, it is a pretty standard fight, not too hard. Oh man. Oh!
done it!
And now, the box art boss himself, Messmer the Impaler. And it is the closest DLC comes to a Malenia type boss, as Messmer is both fast and hits so hard, with so many one-hit kill moves, with one very similar to Malenia's Waterfall Dance.
Oh, will this guy just oh, man. Oh, f***ing sick of him.
He has a great design, although a bit short in stature I thought, and his second phase is a cakewalk so long as you rush in on him and have a bit of luck on your side. This was certainly the boss that made me level up a bit and get more Scadutree fragments to beat him, and Messmer is there with Rellana as my favourite bosses from the DLC.
Killed. Bye-bye.
However, one boss that is not my favourite is the fat hog rider himself, Commander Gaius, and that's a sentiment held with so many other players.
Oh man, this f***ing stupid pig!
His arena is a massive open field with this pig and knight combo running after you, with one of the worst hitboxes in the whole of Elden Ring. Similarly to the Golden Hippo, this is a boss that you can't let get distance from you, and is best tackled up close and personal, I thought, and I never have ever felt more relief on beating a boss than this piece of pork.
Finally, f***'s sake. F*** you f***ing fat pig!
The Scadutree avatar is what happened to Cagni Carnation after the end of Cuphead, being a flower, with, for the first time in a long time, having 3 phases, albeit the flower stays the same, with just more health and different attacks. The setting is a nice, murky Shrek swamp, but man, some of these attacks are annoying. The attack where he shoots out thorns on the ground can be so annoying as you can barely see the second set after dodging the first.
I pressed dodge!
The lock-on was also somewhat frustrating as the head does so much more damage, but I could barely ever hit it while using Lion's Claw. Make sure as well that you critical hit after each phase as it begins the next one with less health. But anyway, besides the 3 phases, it isn't anything special compared to everything else in the DLC.
Oh, f*** me. Finally.
Romina has one of my favourite designs of any boss in the whole game, being a centipede with a scorpion tail and a humanoid body in the middle. She is so beautiful, but a bit of a pushover if you have used all the Scadutree fragments. She can inflict Scarlet Rot, but that really does not matter. None of her attacks are super troublesome and easily dodged, and it is an easier fight than Messmer for most, I would believe. But she is the final required kill to carry on in the DLC before the final boss, but I know she would be worth it just to see her beauty if she was an optional boss.
She's dead, first try.
Deep within the abyssal wood lies a house of madness, and not in the middle of the street, but inside holds Midra, Lord of Frenzied Flame. The boss fight seems easy at first, completely curb stomping this skeleton pensioner thing, but then he turns into one of the coolest looking bosses in the game, because I've said that many times. One with a giant frenzied flame, and it is such a good fight. He has mostly very readable attacks, with some being a bit annoying like the radius for his nuclear bomb attack.
See, he just comes for me!
But besides that, as long as he doesn't inflict madness onto you, it's not actually that hard once you can time your dodges, and is a satisfying kill for both the design of the boss and the arena you fight in.
Oh, thank f***, he's dead! Oh, f***'s sake. Oh, God.
The Putrescent night was, well, super easy for me, as I probably did it a lot later than I should have, killing it easily on my first attempt. However, getting to that boss with all the sniper rock balls was certainly more annoying and harder, but the knight certainly has a cool design, and some attacks have its horse attack you separately, so watch out for that horse as well as the knight. And I'm sure it is super hard when not super overleveled, as my friend did struggle on him for a bit, but he builds up frostbite on you, so watch out for that. But it's another boss that is mostly about learning good timings yet again, and is easy to defeat.
Oh, okay. Easy! Easy!
A hidden boss that you can only access if you are progressing Ymir's quest will lead you to Meta, Mother of Fingers. It is certainly Elden Ring's most unique boss design.
What the f*** is that?
With a bunch of fingers intermingled in a nightmarish way. Just like the Putrescent Knight though, it is a pretty easy fight for me, as I was probably a bit overleveled, but anyway. And to be fair, the best part about this is the questline, which gives you 2 great talismans, but the fight yet again is straightforward and worth doing for the runes.
Don't f***ing matter. No, oh, I thought that was gonna kill me. Yeah, that was... I mean, that was... Mother of Fingers! I've got a finger for you.
At the top of the jagged peak, in an area like what you'd find in Doom Eternal, is the land of the dragons, with the big boss being Bayle the Dread. And Bayle was my dread back in the 2018 Champions League final. And what the hell are you doing, Carius? But anyways, Bayle is the Plasudisax of the DLC, but much, much harder.
Oh, fucking... I didn't know.
Bayle has a great counter to my build, that being slightly moving his head back every time I try to use Lion's Claw.
See, every time I attack he moves.
He has a great design with some okay attacks alone, but there are so many AoE attacks with such a huge radius on them, which makes them so difficult to avoid. But with such a cool arena and the coolest design boss after Romina for me, he is a great optional boss and one tough bastard at that.
Done. Ah, finally.
There is one boss, however, that stands above the rest. We all know who it is, the hardest boss in the entirety of Elden Ring, and certainly up there with all of FromSoft's bosses, Promise Consort Radahn. This boss is as close to a brick wall as you can find, and he finally gives the too hard crowd legitimate firepower.
That just... Oh, man.
I love this boss so much. I do find it annoying though that the final boss of the DLC is a boss that we fought in the base game, but to be honest, an even worse looking one. Like, you cannot tell me that Star Scourge Radahn isn't the most epic fight in the game, feeling like a total war with this giant hulking beast. But this Consort Radahn is just a tall guy. The first phase is just a regular boss's phase and would be a tough fight on its own, but is easy to learn after a few tries. But at around 60% health, Miquella comes and joins Radahn, turning him into a near impossible mess.
Yeah. That second phase, I've never seen out like it.
For the second phase of Radahn, you need to be as close to perfect as possible. It is the fastest, hardest hitting, and has more combos than McDonald's. It is so hard, but so rewarding to finally beat, and besides it being a reused character, it is the hardest and most rewarding fight, and ends the DLC with the hardest FromSoft boss ever.
What? What? Oh, God. I'm sorry, right? This is solid. What is even the point? No! No! Not like this! No! 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 Oh, what? Come on! Come on! Yes! I'm fucking done it! Come on! Yes! Oh, yes!
Radahn's dead, yeah!
Aside from the bosses, the DLC is also filled with so many secrets and new items to help you out, just like the base game, with catacombs, secret caves, optional bosses, and chests galore, finding new weapons, armor, and some new talismans that, unlike the Scadutree fragments, can help you out in the base game should you want to go into New Game Plus. The best talismans I've come across have to be from Ymir's quest, as they basically act as sacred tears, granting you more HP or FP per flash used, along with Rellana's swords, which I absolutely love, just wish they did a bit more. And each of these items can really alter a build or create entire new ones. But I still like Lion's Claw, I've had it since the earliest opportunity, and because I completed the game with it, I will stick with it, but Rellana's swords are a close second. So finally, Shadow of the Erdtree is a DLC that every single Elden Ring fan would have wished for. It has so much content with tens of hours to play, such a vast array of great bosses, and an increase in difficulty that was wanted by most. It is certainly a must play for every Tarnished out there, as right now it feels like the sequel to one of the best games of the decade. And this DLC should be held up as high as the base game, and is now the gold standard of not only how to make a DLC pack, but how to make a great game. And with some minor tweaks here and there already being rolled out, it will only become better and keep Elden Ring as my favourite game of all time, with Shadow of the Erdtree being my favourite DLC of all time.